Good evening. So this evening I wanted us to discuss suicide. I did a recording which I placed yesterday, and I wanted us to just elaborate a bit on that a bit, because suicide happens so frequently and it happens so often, yet it's a subject which really gets discussed. So I wanted us to talk about it today. And yeah, I know I'm wearing black and white, like, unconsciously. I didn't plan to put black and white on, but I guess I'm speaking of death, isn't it? So I dress like I'm going to a funeral. But yes, fun and joke aside, it's a serious topic and it needs to be discussed. Hello, sweetheart. Thank you for joining. I'm talking about the topic of suicide. I want us to discuss it because it happens so frequently, it happens so many times, and we don't talk about it. We just don't talk about it enough. So it states as well, the fact states that suicide happens a lot more amongst men. Yes, men. And I don't know if that's to do with the taboo of it being spoken with men. A lot of men, in terms of the research done, states that they find it quite uncomfortable, or it makes them feel weak if they discuss their feelings about suicide. And in terms of therapy as well, a lot of the times I realize that clients speak about suicide in a very way where it wants to be hush under the carpet because it's not the thing to do, it's frowned upon. Hi Nadisha, thank you for joining, sweetie. I'm discussing suicide and about how it affects us as a society, yet it's a subject which is rarely speak of. And I also mentioned about me wearing black and white, something unconscious going on, but hey! Yes, so a lot of the times research shows that men is more frequent for suicide. Then we have the situation where people who are bereaved take a lot of responsibility for suicide. And a lot of the times what happens is that when bereavement happens, the person who's left grieving feels somewhat guilty, somewhat responsible for the death, but it happens more so when it's suicide. I'm wondering, are you guys hearing me? Can you hear me properly? If you can hear me, just say yes, you can hear me. Can you hear me? I'm having a cup of tea. Cup of tea? Yes, can you guys hear me? I need you to let me know if you can hear me, because it sounds like I'm shouting and I just don't want to talk and you've heard nothing of what I've said. Okay, thank you. You can hear me. Yeah, so I don't know if there's anyone who's watching who's got any particular topic or ideas about what it is when we talk about suicide, because yes, it happens so frequently, yet it's not spoken of, yet a lot of people die from suicide and the family and friends says, oh, but they were okay, or we never saw that one coming. So what is happening in our society to cause this situation to be missed all the time? What are we missing that people are able to commit suicide right under our noses and we're not able to help, or we're not able to help them get the support that they need because we've missed it. We've completely missed it. And thank you. You can all hear me. Thank you. So in terms of suicide, right? I remember one occasion where I was doing a home visit because the client I had they weren't coming out, they weren't going anywhere, so we decided to do a home visit. So I went to do the home visit and he was quite suicidal, and so he was telling me about his plans for suicide and why he wants to commit suicide because things were so dreadful and everything. And I sat with him and I went through, so is there anything we can do about this, what if, and I went through all the protocols and everything. And then it got to the point where I had to say to him, okay, so have you got a plan? Hiya. So have you got a plan? How are you planning on killing yourself? And this is when you really know that someone is really going to commit suicide, when they've got their plan. And he looked up at me and he said, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hang myself and jump over the banister rail. And I looked at him and I said to him, I'm not being funny, but to be honest with you, that's not going to work. And he said to me, why? Why is it not going to work? And I said to him quite sort of flippantly, you know, I know it's a serious matter, but it's not going to work because all I can see is that banister rail coming down with you. Because where he was at home, he was spending lots and lots of time at home. So he was eating, he was gaining a lot of weight. So he was quite a big guy. And I just knew that the banister rail would have just tore down and fall on top of him. And he looked up at the banister and he said, you're right. And we just burst out laughing because I think he could envision himself actually falling from the banister rail, because that wouldn't kill yourself. So yes, he wanted to die, but he really never thought his plan through properly. And at that point, because he didn't have a set plan which was thought through properly, we were able to do an assessment where we could work and talk about the processes to leave that place of being completely despaired to a place where there's hope. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Yes, there is light at the end of the tunnel. And a lot of the times, many of us, and when I say many of us, I'm not saying that with any questions, have had the suicidal fleeting thought, you know, this situation is so bad, what's the point, why continue, why go on? What happened, most of us move on, or we flip it and say, no, my life is better than that, I'm not going to do this. But for some of us, we're not able to flip out of that as easy. We get so despaired and we get really downtrodden and we feel like there's no light and the situation that we're going through is not going to end. And like I mentioned in the recording yesterday, that what happens, why we miss a suicide a lot of the times, is that a person will be very down, they will be very depressed, not getting out of bed, not doing anything, not being able to function or have a life in the way they ought to be doing. They don't have a functional life, they're just existing because of their depression or whatever the trauma that they're going through. And one day they get up and they're quite, you know what, happy, and they come to visit you and they're talking about this and they want to go to this place and they want to do things. And a lot of the times us, family and friends, miss that or misconstrue it as a person is better. What that person is doing some of the times is they've made their decision and they're saying their goodbyes and they're doing some of the things that they always wanted to do anyway, and they feel liberated because they have decided, hi sweetie, they have decided to kill themselves. So if I'm going to die tomorrow, next week, next month, whatever date they've given themselves to end this thing called life, then that deep breath, and they feel so relieved and life feel like I can go on for the next few days, might as well enjoy what's left of it. And we miss that as a person. It's better. No, they're saying their goodbyes. They are having resolution in, because they've got a conclusion, they've solved the problem. It's no longer a problem because they're going to die. So I'm just pointing that out to say sometimes when someone does that suddenly, maybe just not to take it on face value, but to question that recovery sometimes. Okay, you've recovered quite drastically, or what's going on here? Do we still need to talk about this, you know? How have you resolved your problems? And if the person can't tell you how they've resolved their problems or what sort of idea they've come to as to why they've changed their mood or their thoughts, then you should question it. Does that make any sense? Another thing that happens is, and what we need to understand is, if someone is, and this happens a lot of time, especially in abusive relationships or in childhood where the child is being abused by parents, is that that person who's been abused feel like, if I kill myself, this will hurt the person to whom is hurting me. But don't be deluded and think that if that person does not value your life while you're living, your death will not be any more valuable. You will not be hurting that person. You will not be doing anything to that person at all. Believe me, your life will just be in vain. So never you think of it as a process where I'm going to kill myself, and I'm going to show you. When I die, you will see what happened. You will see if you survive and live without me. I'm going to punish you because I'm going to kill myself, and when I die, you will be hurting so much and you will feel guilty. No, no, no. They won't feel guilty and they won't be hurt. So your life is not worth it. Your life is not worth it. Sorry. Yes. No, it's fine. You can still join. But yeah, so those are some of the points I wanted to hit where it comes on to suicide. Guys, you can ask questions. We can have a discussion here. Just not let me speak to myself. I don't like talking to myself or talking at you. Let's have a discussion about it. Yes, I also mentioned in the recording about the energy and the strength and what it takes to actually commit suicide, because it's innate. It's our instinct to survive. Our survival instinct is natural. It comes really natural. So for you to actually want to kill yourself, that takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of willpower for you to want to kill yourself and to able to execute that. And you know what, let me be honest with you, and I'm going to share this with you because a lot of the times we don't talk about suicide, but I've had clients where when they talk about their plan or their resolution of committing suicide, I'm actually jealous. I have been jealous of that person because once they decide to kill themselves, they feel so liberated. That feeling of, you know what, my life is so messed up, at least I can control what happens next. If killing myself is the only decision I can make, then I feel good about that. And this happens a lot of the time when persons try to commit suicide and it doesn't work. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I know. Thank you. Yes, so when they try to commit suicide and it doesn't work, they feel so the word I'm looking for is useless, I am worthless. My life is so bad and I can't even kill myself. The one thing I've got control over is killing myself, and not even that I can do. How bad can my life be? And actually not being able to commit suicide or be successful in committing suicide can be quite devastating for someone. And I know a lot of times when the person comes around, whether they've taken pills or whatever, the family can be quite upset and angry with them, and that can be projected onto them. Why would you do this? What have we done to you? Why would you want to kill yourself? And what I want to say to you guys, if that did happen, you need to show that person love and affection. Keep your anger and your frustration to yourself for a bit, because that person's already disappointed with themselves. They're really, really feeling bad that the one thing I think I've got control over is killing myself, and I wasn't even able to do that. And mind you, I'm not talking about the persons who are crying for help here, because we do have those occasions. That's another discussion where persons use a suicide attempt as a cry for help. Look, this is how desperate things are. And when that happens, we should not take that lightly either. That should not be taken lightly. Hiya, sweetie. Yes, Miss Sutherland, that's what we're saying. And if we lift the taboo from the subject matter, then it won't be such a taboo subject to talk about, because the persons who are suffering would feel... Sorry, let me try and turn this up. The persons who are suffering would feel... Sorry, in addition, trying to read what you're saying there. Some people normally... Yes, they don't have anyone to listen to them, and because they feel that fear of judgment, particularly men, because it's seen as a sign of weakness. If you try to commit suicide, how weak can you be? It goes back into the whole thing about men sharing their emotions as well. But yes, I was making a point. I've lost my train of thought there. But I was saying that if the person was not successful in committing the suicide, then we shouldn't project our anger and our frustration onto them, because they're already feeling bad as it is in that situation, that they weren't successful in doing the one thing they have decided, or taking some sort of control over, to kill themselves. One of the things we can do as friends and family is, when someone is suicidal, if they're opening up, and a lot of the times people hint to us, in the conversation, and they might not say straight out that I'm going to kill myself, because they don't want to scare you as well, but they insinuate that they're going to be doing it, and we miss it because we get caught up in what they're saying or not hearing what they're saying. We need to listen a lot more to the tone of the conversation. And there's been times when people say, okay, I don't want to be here anymore. I really just don't want to be here anymore. And that could mean I don't want to be here in this situation anymore because it's really difficult for me, or I don't want to be here as in this life anymore. And then we need to be able to differentiate between those two. Alright, is there, Shirley, you said some people keep their... Yes, that is absolutely true. And I guess maybe the reason why we keep our problems bottled up and not express it and not talk about it is, as I said before, is that fear of judgment. It's fearing that people are judging us and they won't understand, or I'm a failure, I am such a failure, I can't pull my life together. You know, these emotions, I should be able to do this, I should be able to do this, I can't cope, I can't function, this is unbearable, I just don't want to be here anymore. And that is sometimes when people express that, it's taken so lightly, it's taken with a pinch of salt. Oh, stop it, shut up, you're just crying for help, you're not being a baby. And, you know, just the hand movement is enough to put you back in your box, you know. Just, oh, stop it, stop it, stop it. No, when someone is suicidal, it's not something to be taken lightly. If they're hinting that they're depressed, they're distressed, they're in a state of really, really low feelings, we should stop and take the time to listen to them. Because as I said, they may not say to you, they may never say to you that I'm going to kill myself tomorrow. They may never do that. But they're telling you, they're sharing the emotions, they're sharing their thought processes with you. Yes. Yes, Cheryl, between both. What do you mean? Sorry, I don't understand. Elaborate for me. Yes, so guys, we need to not be so judgmental for others. We need to create an environment with ourselves, within our friendships, within our partners and relationships and family, within an environment within our relationship, an atmosphere in our relationship that each of us feel comfortable to speak about how we're genuinely feeling. Even if we don't want to talk exactly about what the problem is, maybe we can talk about what the feelings are as a result of whatever the problem is. Because sometimes people don't want to discuss what the problems are that they're struggling with, and that is okay. But what we should encourage is the feelings that you're feeling as a result of whatever that problem is, whatever it is, okay? I was mentioning before that I actually felt jealous of clients when they get to that state of feeling liberated, because the way I was brought up, suicide is not an option. It's no matter how low, depressed, despaired I feel, how dark my tunnel is, I just feel like suicide is not an option because of my beliefs, the way I was brought up. And I've been jealous of these persons who actually have that option of I can take control, I can kill myself if I wanted to. And as bad as that sounds, and as depressing as it is, sometimes for those persons, that feeling of feeling liberated, like I've got an option, is the best feeling they've felt in years. It's the best feeling they've felt in years, because it's the first in a long time they can actually stop and breathe. They can relax and breathe. And as much as I felt jealous of them, it's not something I would encourage anyone to do, and I wouldn't facilitate the whole assisted suicide or anything like that, because I do believe there's hope at the end of the tunnel. What I'm saying is that feeling of my life is shit and I can take control by killing myself, that span between there is a liberating feeling that a lot of people get deluded with. They get into this delusion that it feels good, it will be okay. When I die, it will be okay. And no, all you've done is pass the problem on to whoever's left behind. The kids, maybe your parents are still alive, the partners, you know, whoever you're left behind to grieve and pick up the pieces. Is that what you really want? No matter how desperate the situation is and how dark that tunnel is, reach out to these people. Let them help you. Let them help you solve the problem. Right? Let me try and read what you're saying here. When someone really... Yes, it goes both ways, Cheryl, when they really don't want to be here. And that's what I'm talking about, that period of liberation, thinking, you know what, this is my own way out of it. It's my own way out of it. And speaking from my own experience, I have a friend, and she shared with me that she tried to commit suicide before we are friendships. And even at that point, as my friend, and I'm supposed to know how to deal with it, I found that discussion very difficult, because when it's close home, when I'm dealing with patients or clients and stuff, it's okay because I can step over here and I can be quite objective and I can work with you through that. But once it becomes close home, I was just like, it was a lot to take on. So it might be difficult for you in that process of trying to help. Hold on, let me try and read this. Nadisha, you said, yes, projecting your anger onto the person who has failed. Yes, we shouldn't do that, because sometimes we get frustrated. Why would you want to kill yourself? Why would you do that? Why are you doing that? But we shouldn't do that. We should try not to do that. It's easier said than done, but we should try not to do that. Simone, you said life is too... Yes, Simone, trust me, what you're saying there is an understatement. It is a blooming well hard at times. And that tunnel can seem so dark. Like a friend of mine said to me once, I was expressing, I feel so depressed, when is this situation's gone over, and she said to me, Laudia, don't worry about it. The darkest bit of the night is just before dawn. The light will come soon. And I looked at her and I went, yeah, right? Well, if the darkest bit of the night is before dawn, well, trust me, it's just 12 o'clock. It's just midnight for me. I've got a long way to go, because when you're in that, your tunnel seems so much longer than anything else. Yeah, so basically, guys, the gist of what I'm trying to say here is that suicide shouldn't be such... My tea's getting cold. Hold on, guys. Let me just have some tea, please. Let me just finish up my tea. Let me finish up my tea. Yes, it's getting cold. It's getting cold. Just bear with me, guys. Just bear with me. I want my tea's cold. Yes, so the gist of what I'm saying is that we got to be more liberal in terms of open-minded to talk about. Yes, nothing in the world, in this life, is worth taking your life over. However, when you're in that place, it's not that easy. It's easier said than done. It's much easier said than done to be when you're in that place. So guys, I just want for us to be a lot more open-minded about suicide. Be open for the discussion. Be open to be supportive to others. If someone failed a suicide attempt, not to be angry with them. If you know someone who within your family, friends or close by that has committed suicide, do not feel guilty or blame yourself for it, because there is nothing you could have done to stop that person if they really wanted to kill themselves. There's nothing you can do. The other thing I'd like for you to just be aware of is that if someone is suicidal, then maybe go through them, find out if they've got a plan, what their plan is, and from that you can see the severity of how serious they are about their suicidal, how close they are along the spectrum to actually commit suicide. Because we do play with suicidal ideation, the fleeting thoughts, and I don't want to be here anymore, and life is crap, and da da da. But sometimes that's just a thought. We haven't seriously considered suicide. We haven't seriously considered how we're going to get it done. We haven't seriously considered the consequences of this. So when you talk to somebody about their plan, you will have a better idea of all of this, and then you can then see what I need to do. A lot of the times you may need to call emergency services, things like that, because there's just nothing you can physically do. You might need to make that person be locked away for a period of time for their own safety. Whatever it is you need to do to help that person, you need to do that, just to make sure they're safe to live for tomorrow, to see that it does get better. It does get better. It does get better. And just to reiterate as well, nobody is worth killing yourself for. You won't be punishing them. They won't be hurt. Right? We agree on that, don't we? No, they won't be hurt. Yes, and I was mentioning as well that most of the time when persons try to kill themselves, the body, the survival skills kicked in, where the person just tried to swim, or they try to do that if they're trying to hang themselves, or it's within us to want to live. So let's tap into that and always go for survival skills rather than trying to think of ways of ending our life. It's just not worth it when your life has got a lot of potential, your future is bright, and there's better things to come. And if in any moment you're finding it difficult where you can't live for yourself, find something or someone to live for until you're able to live for yourself. Find someone or something and live for them until you're able to live for yourself. Alright guys, I think I'm gonna sign out here. Is there anything you'd like to say before I go? But thank you guys for joining me. Thank you for partaking in this discussion, because I think it needs to be had. Alright, then I'll take that as my clue, and I'll say ta-ra. Bye guys, speak to you soon. Bye bye.